of the states with a larger number of college graduates than most, strong economic growth, what I consider to be very good values, and really a much more global perspective. When you look at the last few governors that you've had, Governor Warner, who I support for senator, and now Governor Kane, you can see that informed, fact-based policy to deal with the extraordinary complexities of modern life really does work, and it works in Virginia, and I think it will work nationally. The story of Virginia is a very good story because it's an American story. So when I think about the choices that we face, I think about the following statistic. In 1928, the top 1% of Americans controlled 24% of the personal income. In 2008, the current year, the top 1% controlled 23% of the income of the country. You say, what's happened between then? Well, in fact, in the 50s and 60s, arguably the period of time when the middle class of our country was largely formed, that ratio was 6, 7, 8%, now up to 25%. It was never higher than 15% until 1984. I don't believe that the American story, the American miracle, the American values will survive such an enormous dislocation of wealth. And I also believe that dislocation of wealth and a few other things, like the world's most difficult financial crisis since 1929 and an incredibly unpopular war, have created an angry group of people in the middle class. They're angry, they may be quiet, they may be loud, but the fact of the matter is that they're not winning while many others are. When you look at this crisis, you wonder, how did we get here? We got into this crisis because of government policy. And how did this crisis occur? Because the government leaders were in the wrong paradigm. They didn't understand some of the important and fundamental principles of America, and they also made decisions that benefited some and did not benefit others. So along comes a candidate, in this case, obviously Senator Obama, who has a different model. He starts from an understanding of the middle class, which I think has been well described, right, and well understood. And he also understands that we're better off together than apart. We're better off together building a society with scale and opportunity for everybody. And that society has a bunch of principles. As we just talked about, one of the principles is to deal with facts and science and investing in, if you're going to invest, let's invest in some of the core things, education, in particular, making sure the extraordinary leadership that's been available from our American universities continues for many years because it's been slipping. Another thing that he understands is the importance of infrastructure. Simple argument. The government is about to do a massive stimulus package, as you pointed out. By the way, is it 50 billion, 100 billion, or 200 billion? Numbers which are an order of magnitude less than what was approved in a week in a financial bailout that largely went to a small sector, a relatively small sector of our economy. We have a choice. We have a choice of where that money goes. Why don't we invest it? Why don't we invest it in things so we get a twofer? Why don't we invest it in roads, bridges, schools, broadband, and maybe even green technology? In studying for this visit and in looking at Virginia as a state, I was pleasantly surprised at how strong the IT sectors are in Virginia. A lot of this comes from investments done 10 or 15 years ago when the internet was largely controlled out of the Dulles Corridor. And the tremendous investment in infrastructure means that Virginia is particularly well positioned to be one of the powerhouses of the internet for many, many years to come, literally in the broadband phenomenon. But also many other enlightened policies, things like trying to get IT jobs spread throughout the state, and especially in areas, rural states where smart people don't have a lot of choices, and they want a broader and bigger impact for themselves than what they've been available historically. If you take a look at the investments that the state is placing in universities and so forth in things involving climate change, obviously carbon sequestration and other kinds of research, all of those I think portend a very very, very good future for not just the citizens of the state, but also students who would come here to learn and participate in the global economy. My view on this sort of opportunity goes something like this. Here you have a candidate who's in fact announced a $150 billion plan over 10 years to invest in renewable energy. As part of that stimulus, why don't we solve all these problems at once? Why don't we figure out a way to replace fossil fuels and a fair number of our cars by either plug-in hybrids and or renewable electricity? The combination of solar and wind and enhanced geothermal together, and there's lots of that all over, really does give us an opportunity not just to create jobs, which are American, create export industries, which will serve us very well, figure out a way to get the economy moving again, invest in technologies that matter, get oil prices to be lower, by the way, because demand drops, prices go down, increase our energy security, because all of our wars seem to be about oil. Oh, and by the way, also help solve the fundamental issue of climate change. So my point here is that when you think about the election next week, part of the reason it's so important is you have an opportunity now to correct a series of systemic policy errors that have existed for many, many years. And that's why the opportunity is so important. So I think when you think about the choice that you face, it's pretty clear that a technology choice, an investment choice, and an opportunity choice is one for Senator Obama. If you doubt his commitment to this, understand that the construction of what is essentially $1 billion corporation, which is the campaign, with on the order of 3,000 employees, 100,000 volunteers, an enormous reach, an enormous and interesting sales model, really did occur in 2 years. But this team and these people really do understand scale, and they really do understand how to use these technologies to affect everybody. And from my perspective, if you're going to act, now is the time to act. Now is the time to express yourself. When we talk about it in the Obama campaign, what we talk about it not just is what you could do, but how you could influence others. Because this is a network, and it is a network effect, and that you can self-organize. And one of the great secrets, and this will be discussed for many, many years, about how did politics change at this moment in time because of this group. They figured out a way to get people to act in groups and to act quickly. So when we go back, and I think our fundamental message today is that if anyone is confused about why things matter, look at where we are now and try to figure out how you can make that difference. In the next 5 days, if you could get yourself and your friends using the tools that are available in myobama.com and go ahead and get involved in either canvassing, they have a way in which you can participate in phoning, and do the necessary work to really make a change. I can tell you that as a personal issue, it's fun. It's fun to be part of it. It's fun to feel like you're part of history, and it's something that you'll remember for many, many years. So with that, maybe we can do questions, but thank you very much.